Howdy, my name is Summer Burson, and today I'm going to be talking about a really interesting question in honeybee biology, which is what's more important, quality or quantity, when it comes to the drivers of case development in Apis mellifera? Honeybee larvae develop into either queens or workers. And historically, we've thought that it's all about the royal jelly and more specifically, what's in it. But new research suggests that this is actually a lot more complex than what we once thought. Today, I'll be walking through a study that tests this idea and helps us answer our main question. To understand this topic, it's really important that we understand Apis mellifera, the western honeybee. This species is one of the most important pollinators in the world and is essential to agriculture. So much so that a lot of crops depend on them directly for pollination. What makes honeybees especially interesting is their eusocial structure, which means the colony functions like a superorganism with different roles. Queens and workers are genetically identical, but they grow into completely different adults. Queens have larger ovaries, longer lifespans, and they're the only ones to lay eggs in the entire colony. And workers are small, sterile, and are the ones to handle all the labor. Since genetics can't explain these differences, honeybees give us a perfect model to study how environmental factors like diet can dramatically shape development. So, my research question is, how do diet quality and diet quantity influence the development of a queen versus a worker honeybee? Does feeding them more food produce queen traits? And does protein or carbohydrate proportion affect case? Is it the quality of the food, things like proteins, more specific to royal jelly components? So, this study took a very controlled experimental approach. Larvae were collected from 9 different hives to ensure genetic diversity, and then they were placed individually into 24 weld plates. And the researchers reared the larvae at a constant 34 degrees Celsius with 96% humidity, which mimics the conditions inside of a natural hive. So, first off, diet quality, which included 9 different versions of royal jelly based diets with different protein and carbohydrate proportions, and diet quantity, which ranged from 160 to 370 microliters and included an ad libitum option, which is basically like, um, think of it as like a royal jelly buffet, all you can eat. And this setup allowed the researchers to really isolate the effects of both nutrition composition as well as total food intake. And they were then compared as adult traits to determine how queen like each bee would become. So, here are the effects of the diet quantity research. The first major finding was related to um, diet quantity, and the results were very clear that larvae that could eat as much as they wanted, so the larvae that were, stuffing their purse at that royal jelly buffet, all of them turned into bees. 100% of them became bees. When the larva received 370 microliters, only about 58% of those became bees. And whenever they received 160 microliters, the lowest amount, almost none of them became bees at all. So, this shows a strong connection between how much food larvae receive and whether they become bees. it also suggests that abundant amounts may trigger hormonal changes, particularly the juvenile hormone, which then pushes a bee to develop into a queen when that hormone is raised. So the second part of the results findings focus on diet quality. When quantity was ignored, the protein to carbohydrate ratio was not significant. It didn't matter at all. But once the researchers controlled for total food amount, um, the significance disappeared. So protein, carbohydrate, and water content were not reliable predictors of case. This tells us that high protein or high carbohydrates alone are not responsible for producing queens. Even though royal jelly is often described as like a special substance, this study suggests that it's not necessarily like the specific ingredients in the royal jelly, and it's more about what larva receives the most. So, taking all of these findings together, these results suggest that the long-standing belief that royal jelly quality determines caste is incorrect. Instead, diet quantity is the primary regulator of determining if a bee larva is going to turn into a worker or turn into a queen. So, in conclusion, this research shows that diet quantity has a much stronger influence on case development rather than diet quality. Large amounts of royal jelly can induce queen traits even when protein and carbohydrate ratios stay the exact same. Overall, plentiful nutrition can override diet quality and push larvae towards becoming a queen. The significance of these findings, knowing that the quantity is what drives queen development, helps scientists better understand how environment shapes biological outcomes. This insight can also help improve queen rearing practices and support healthier colonies. And here are my references, and thank you so much.